Hello, welcome everyone. I am Althea Walters, the host of the Focused and Fulfilled podcast. I am a leadership and productivity trainer at Blazing Beyond. And today's episode, we are going to be diving into a serious topic, a topic that sometimes we get anxious about it. And we are here to talk about building influence, impact, and income through public speaking. And today, my guest is Mr. Alvin Day. He's a seasoned speaker, a messaging strategist, that's what I'm going to call him, and he helps individuals to master their voice, clarify their message, and monetize their brilliance through public speaking. So, if it is that you want to move from hidden to heard, and you also want to move from stage fright to the spotlight, this episode is for you. So please help me welcome my guest, Mr. Alvin Day. Alvin, thank you so much for being on my podcast.
You are most welcome, and thank you for the opportunity to be here and sharing with you.
All right, wonderful. So, public speaking, we're talking about building influence, impact, and we're talking about that art of public speaking. It is something that we fear so much. But
Mm.
before we get there, I want you to just give me a background as to your journey. What led you to be really mastering this area and then focusing on this area. Tell me about your story and tell us why it's so important for public speaking.
Right. So briefly, I am nobody from nowhere. And it's a weird thing to say at the start, but I grew up without influence, social pedigree, without financial anything positive to show in my life in a rural country town where my mother had left a few years after I was born. My father had left, and I grew up with my grandmother. We did not have electricity, running water, or an inside toilet. And the irony of it all was I was never poor. I never knew that we didn't have those things because I grew up as the happiest child I ever met. Due to my grandmother's words, I learned that I was special, that I fell from the sky, that I was going to grow up and be a most amazing human being. And she had not even yet graduated. She had not graduated from high school. And
Wow.
so, yeah. And so here's a little insignificant creature where when in my grandmother's world, I was taught that when the children laughed at me, when the teachers didn't believe in me, when I got into fights and they beat me up, she said, "Don't worry about that, boy. You may look like a caterpillar on the outside, but inside you have wings that will come out if you will listen to me, if you
Yes.
will study hard, if you will extract everything you can from the teachers, if you will trust in God. You were born to fly." And I grew
Yes.
up with that notion, and Althea found myself flying around the world first class, having senior executives pick me up and take me to the finest hotels, use interpreters to have me talk to people in China, in Shanghai, having senior executives take notes when I speak. And I wonder to myself, if they saw me grow up, would they ever call me Mr. Day and take me seriously? Isn't
Yeah.
that amazing? That's my story. I grew up learning the very basics of life from the ground, and I've come to develop some philosophies that have helped me. Like when you are on the ground, you can't fall down.
That's
And on
it.
that, and on that, something has been built. What can I tell you?
Wonderful. And I didn't introduce your authorship in the introduction because I wanted it to come out, naturally in your story.
Ah,
And I shared with you that I also benefited from your book, If Caterpillars Can Fly, so
ah,
can I. And you'd never know who you will either meet. I never thought that, you and I would be on a podcast, sharing and speaking. And as we're talking about public speaking and building confidence, my podcast was also a platform, for me as well. So it
that.
is, there are different things, and it's not like I don't fear speaking in public or we
Mhm.
just get up and hey, we're ready to speak all the time. It was never ever like that.
Yeah.
So why do you think public speaking is so important for like building credibility and building authority in our environment, in our social settings? Why public speaking would be important from your perspective?
Right. Well, first of all, most of us are very good at communicating with our friends and our family and our close
Yeah.
bond folks, right? And you and I are friends. We meet at the end of the week and we talk about our jobs and we are in it and we're expressive and we feel each other. Yes. And then suddenly we are put on stage to communicate one to many, and the tendency is to freeze up. Oh my gosh. And the question is, if you have the language and if you have the content and if you have the ability to speak, what is the difference between speaking with your trusted people and speaking with an audience of 10 or 10,000? The only thing that has appeared to me to be real as to explaining that is that when you stand in front of the lens of a camera, peeking into your soul to be watched by people anywhere in the world, because once it goes online, you have lost control of whatever you did.
Yeah.
Once you stand on stage under the hot lights in front of 1,000 people, every weakness, every vulnerability, every doubt, every flinch you make is observable. And it
Yes.
is scary if you haven't figured those things out. It is very scary because that vulnerability will not find footing unless you have worked on yourself and transformed yourself to be a center of power. Not aggressive, egotistical power, but just a confident sense of source of information that you're here to help others with. And so for me, public speaking is critical because you really can't influence the world one by one efficiently. If you want to influence the world and leave a legacy, you have to influence one to many sooner or later.
Yes.
And in order to do that, you have to submit yourself to their scrutiny and their comments and their gaze. And what that means is if we want to have that level of influence, it is critical that we engage in a daily transformation, which means we're getting up better and we're learning about ourselves and we're becoming stronger and we're becoming smarter about what we have to offer. And not many of us want to commit to that kind of ongoing scrutiny, ongoing pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're so right, because I think that you said we are comfortable in our social setting. Our friends don't judge us in the way that we believe strangers are going to judge us.
Yes.
So because of that, it's gonna take every ounce in my body to actually stand on stage and deliver,
Yeah.
right? I read somewhere where they said that public speaking is almost close to the fear of death, right? So people fear it that much.
Well, actually, yeah, you're right. And it's even worse than that, Althea. I have read in different sources that when you ask people the number one thing that they fear, death comes at best at number two, and public
True.
speaking number one.
Yes.
Somebody quipped and said most people at a funeral would rather be in the box than give the eulogy. Now, I'm sure that's an
It's
exaggeration.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
It's really crazy coming to think of it. So if it is important, you have established that point for us. But if we have to think about articulating a message and sharing a message, what's the difference between me just sending you a message or sharing a message versus me delivering something of impact? What's the difference between the two?
Right. So there are three levels of effectiveness in public speaking. In fact, I was just talking with my group. I'm coaching a group of folks through this, and it's really exciting.
Hmm.
Just last night, when I was working with my group, we came to conclude that there are these three levels of effectiveness in public speaking. One, you have to have information. You have to have some content to impart. So,
Hmm.
it's not the gift of gab. You must have value to impart to others.
Yes.
But then you must also have the language and the articulation and the communication skills to do so in a way that's engaging. So having information,
Hmm.
you could easily just send it by email, but when you stand there, you need to be able to articulate it in that way. That's a second level of importance. And then the third way is you could have the articulation and the language, but people would just go away and applaud you.
Yes.
What you need next is you need persuasion, the skill of persuasion, which is to move a person from one state of being to another, one state of thinking, one state of action to another.
Yes.
So you become an expert at something. You learn how to communicate it effectively, but then
Mhm.
you have to learn how to tweak it so that it gets not just here, but into the heart and into the belly. And that's where you move people. I am lit up by this thing. that I learned about Demosthenes and Cicero, two Greek orators and generals. They were war generals and orators. They were a couple hundred years apart in history, but history put them together. And history says, it is quoted from one source, when Cicero spoke, the
Mhm.
people applauded. When
Mhm.
Demosthenes spoke, the people said, let us march.
Call
And
to
the question that
action.
I have, yeah, the question I have, Althea, is when you speak, 1 to 2 or 1 to 2,000. Do people feel really good about your elocution? Are you at that level where you're articulated, you bend words nicely? Or do you know how to get deep into their muscles and their minds and their neurons to make them want to get up and to go do something differently? And this is where fulfillment and satisfaction and influence and money, income lie.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, that
yeah,
is so profound. I got it. I was drawn in. So
yeah.
when you were speaking and I was listening to you and you're talking about the three levels of effectiveness, and you started at information and you were at language skills, I'm like, okay, wonder if the next thing is connection. And
Mm,
so the skill of persuasion, of course, it's you connecting to the audience in such a way that they hear the value in what you have said and they can take it and then move.
yeah, yeah. That's right.
And so movement as a result of the message
Yeah,
is also important
yeah.
to public speaking.
Right. If we're talking about changing the world, if we're talking about focused fulfillment,
Yes.
we have to be cautious not to aim at being eloquent because eloquence, you can go to Toastmaster and learn eloquence. And I recommend it, by the way, because it's a
Yes.
critical second step.
Hmm.
But but persuasion is another thing. It's an understanding of the human mind. It's an understanding of the human mind beginning with yours, with mine. I have to understand me better, what motivates me and how I influence the world, how they react to me. And there's a reason I was just reflecting as you spoke. Two of the biggest successes in my writing of books are the one you mentioned, If Caterpillars Can Fly, So Can I,
Yes.
and another one called Persuasion Power. And I didn't mention that just because I wrote those two books. The first one has to do with personal transformation. The second one has to do with how you move people to say yes to you, to
Hmm.
say yes to you. And I tell you, I am lit up because despite the fact that I'm nobody from nowhere, it's almost like a mantra that makes me feel great. People are afraid of their backgrounds. I'm not. It's my basis and my foundation. I'm lit up by this because there's literally nothing in my life save the pursuit of God, which is a higher level than anything we have on earth here.
Right.
There's nothing in my life that I've seen bring more energy and more passion and more power than the ability to be the center of attraction in the middle of a group or in front of a camera. And
Yes.
it's not, again, it's not an ego thing. It's a thing of influence and ability to change the world one person at a time, one group at a time. And when people go through this, I've heard it last night from my group. They're in a bad mood or they're not feeling so good and they deliver a presentation that makes a difference and they're just like, gosh, this is so great. And they're lit up as if you plug them
Yes.
into the wall. You know
Yes.
that feeling? Do you
I
know that?
I I know it and I can associate with it because some of the times when I do connect with people and I see the reaction from either the person in front of me or a wider audience, that fulfillment that I get to know that I can create impact,
Yeah.
that is something that, it makes me elevate in terms of my spirit, my thinking, etc. And it pushes me to do more, like what more can I do to provide such great impact to persons? It's bringing me to my next point because as we talked about, okay, it's important for public speaking. It's important that, you have value to give, you have information and value to give, and you can make an impact on persons.
Yes.
There are many people who struggle to do this, right? And we established that in the beginning. How do we help the person who is the messenger, who is carrying the message? How do we help them with mindset shifts to bring them from that place so that they can really take up their place of power to be able to impact other persons?
Well, it's funny you use the word messenger because as I try not to make it sound like it's the best thing in the world, even though I feel it.
Yeah.
public speaking that we have been teaching, we have been doing it for over 25 years. And in the last 15 years, I have been teaching public speaking to corporate senior executives using a model that I regard as the only one of its kind in the world. And it begins with the messenger. It is so encompassing. It teaches folks how to master, get this, the first one, how to master the messenger, the message, the method, the
Hmm.
medium, and the money making of public
Ah,
speaking.
so that's a five-step framework.
Five-step framework.
Yeah.
And companies will hire us for a year to teach leadership development to their senior managers. And
Hmm.
the single greatest response that we've gotten, and we've gotten response, positive response for everything, has
Hmm.
been public speaking. It's immediate life change for people. And so the question of how we get people to get into that space, mindset, and so forth, is a
Yeah.
critical one because it begins with the messenger. Althea, if I may be so bold, you really cannot go out and persuade people to take the next step in your life when you yourself are afraid of it.
Absolutely not.
You can be an eloquent speaker, but something about you communicates it through that it's tentative, it's tenuous, it's theoretical, it's academic. But when you are lit up inside with the passion and the possibility that life is awesome and you're on your way somewhere higher, it's
Yes.
easy to pull people with you.
Yes.
Yeah, if you can pull people to places where you are going and where you've been, but if you're just going to sit back and push them, you can only push them to the length of your arms.
Yes.
Amazing, isn't it?
It is
So
amazing.
yeah, so what we do is we literally, as I was sharing with you when we spoke briefly before this session,
Mhm.
what I do is a personal development, life transformation process using public speaking as a delivery mechanism. Because
Mhm.
when you can move from a space of being moderate, mediocre, or average in presentations, in public speaking, or worse yet, scared stiff, to a place,
Yes.
yeah, to a place where you can stand in front of the lights with poise and charm
And
and
and do
deliver
it
with
effortlessly.
it is impossible, I argue, categorically. It is impossible to move from that state of average or inadequate to this state of personal power in front of people without it doing something to your life, to your
Yes.
belly, dealing with those doubts, those uncertainties, that confusion about why you were born. I
Mhm.
have seen people transform their entire lives just by making that shift because you cannot make it authentically without working on you. It
Yes.
begins so it begins with that. So the mindset, and I don't even like the term mindset because I think of mindset as liquid concrete that has congealed and now you have to crack it. I think about it as literally a shift in thinking.
Yeah.
And our work disturbs people to make them go, whoa, whoa, I have not even begun yet. I have
Mhm.
potential that I have not even begun to explore yet. And see, when you open your eyes wide and the energy comes out and you begin to hunger for excellence, it is exactly that platform that's required to overcome the fear and to be highly influential in speaking.
Yes. 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 So it's a shift in our thinking, and the point that I pulled from this is the fact that as the messenger who is delivering that message of impact, you have to work on you because if you're not filled up, if you don't have that level of confidence to deliver that message, then the value, no matter how much information you have, the value will be lost,
Yeah,
right? The value will be lost.
that's right. It's funny. We have this thing called a speaker circle, where for months I'm working with people week after week, and a lawyer signed up for it.
Hmm.
And we'd not had a lawyer before, and my coach and I, because I have a coach,
Yes,
uh,
of course, we
yeah,
all have
more
to.
than one coach. So my coach and I said, yeah, good. It's great to get a lawyer in here because it had another dimension of professionalism to the group and so forth. And when this lawyer came, we asked for the lawyer to let's say, introduce himself, and just give a 1 minute introduction. Who are you, and why are you here?
Hmm.
With all our expectations from this lawyer now, the lawyer started up by saying, well, it's funny you should ask that because I'm trying to figure out who I am too.
Wow.
And I marveled. Wait a minute, you can get the height of academic excellence and still not be sure about who you are. And this
Yes.
lawyer we expected to be high-powered, reasoning in front of a jury and so forth, was still, although the lawyer is great at the lawyer's trade, is still inside trying to figure out who am I?
Yeah.
Who am I?
But it's an interesting thing that happens. And and that's why I talk about fulfillment a lot because we have persons, walking around and they themselves, they're looking, no matter the level of academia, the level that they of intellect, there are still persons who have that gap of,
Yeah,
unfulfillment.
yeah,
And I wanted to ask you because some people struggle, right? Even though we know that even if you have public speaking as a basic requirement, there are
yeah,
some people who believe that it's really not for them and it's more for popular persons who should be doing this. And only those popular persons or persons who own businesses or persons who are in great leadership capacity should be able to do public speaking. But what are your thoughts on that? Because and then that's one of the reasons people shy away. They're like, oh, I don't need to do it.
yeah. But let me answer it by saying it's not for everybody. It isn't.
Right. Okay.
If you are a technocrat locked in an office with your computer, working on an app that's going to make you $1 million,
Mm,
stay in the office and just do your thing.
yeah.
Or can you really?
True.
Or can you?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm speaking tongue in cheek. That's not for everybody because sometimes we think that our job doesn't call for that. But
Mm-hmm.
if you are a brilliant technocrat or good at some kind of skill and you want to make a difference in the world, you're going to have to make a difference with people.
Yeah.
If you work on a job where you don't get the big stage, you just have your weekly meeting, you have to learn how to communicate to the 3 to 4 people in the meeting.
Yes.
You want to get promoted on the job, your ability to navigate the protocol and the politics and the people is a part of public speaking, even if you're just sitting in the room. So if you say to yourself, look, I'm not in the public speaking thing, when you are in a meeting, you are in public speaking because it is your turn to address a question. It's your turn to
Yes.
go up to the flip chart and deal with this project. And if you cannot do that well, you don't get reward, you don't get recognition, and you don't generate results.
Yes.
So when I say it's not for everybody, some folks think so, but let's put it this way. It's not for you if you don't have any ambitions and hopes and dreams and expectations. How's that?
Yes. Yes.
But if you ever dream of greatness in whatever field mankind has ever undertaken,
Mm-hmm.
you cannot get there in any significant way without attracting resources, people, listeners, customers, organizations, and it's really hard if you don't know how to communicate one to many.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's critical.
Yes. Great. I agree with you on that. Earlier shared about the like a five-step framework, right? And so for the persons who, they have a mission, they have a dream, they want to do something big and they want to, master their art of public speaking. What about the different mediums or that they can practice with just to build confidence? Because sometimes the courage and the confidence is what is lacking as well. Different from the information and the value that you have. How can they master the mediums, the different mediums to help them to advance in their public speaking journey?
And by mediums, give me a couple examples of
So, for
what you.
example, like if what are the channels that they can use? Maybe it's a podcast, what are the other ways how they can build their own confidence?
Right. So the underlying basis for your question is the answer. They need to be doing things with different media.
Okay.
And in a certain sense, it doesn't matter which one. In a
Hmm.
certain sense, it matters that they are pushing themselves beyond their fear or nervousness
Yeah.
to be speaking regularly.
Yeah.
We are teaching people how to develop confidence speaking on camera
Yes.
and speaking in front of a live audience, but it is entirely transferable to running a meeting in a company, to talking to investors. The expertise comes from remembering yourself having spoken yesterday and that the sky did not fall.
Yes.
You did not die. Okay.
Exactly.
We can lock people in a room and give them the 49 principles of public speaking, and they would go away and understand it and pass the test. But it's like riding a bicycle. You know that whole metaphor, right?
Yes. And we fall off and we get up
Mhm.
again and we have to, we get some bruises, but
Yes.
we start again.
Okay, so remember now the three levels that I talked about, having value, having information, and then being able to articulate it and move people. I know I know public speakers who are not the best at their language. They make a few mistakes here and there,
Yeah.
but they're so passionate about what they do. And they put themselves so much in the background that they don't worry about confidence. Confidence is not even a thing. They're charged with the mission that they move people. People who don't necessarily have step two, total professional mastery of language, charged with a passion, can move others. So, yeah, it is about practicing it on the one hand. And so I would say, yes, if you are interested, do a podcast, go online, take your camera and put messages out. Do them regularly, do those things regularly.
Mm-hmm.
Volunteer to speak for free at functions in your town. There are thousands of places looking for good speakers. And volunteer until it becomes so valuable that you begin to charge people for it. But the most important thing is that you are there speaking and developing your own psyche to say, I am a conduit for information.
Yes. Yeah. Excellent. So I find that so the practicing is something that is definitely important for us if we want to advance with public speaking. Practicing is very important.
Yeah.
But it goes again, you did say persons are not really good. Some people are not really excellent at their craft. But do you find that people struggle with trying to identify like a unique message or to clarify their own message as to what can I use as my story, my message? I think, do you find that happens a lot? And
Yes,
what would you recommend to persons who are struggling like that?
right. It, success is a lot to do with has a lot to do with thinking. And the truth that we're looking for is often not absolute truth. It's the truth that we believe that lights us up. So when someone struggles with messaging, there's a simple way for me. Ask yourself, what am I good at doing and being? And I
Mm.
maintain that every human being was born with at least one talent.
Yes.
So if you're not good at numbers and architecture and fashion, don't go do real estate. Okay, don't go sell real estate. Find something that you are passionate about and talk about it. Because if you don't have the passion, you can't do it very well.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes people say, I want to make money in public speaking. Well, that's the wrong approach.
Mm.
The approach is, what value do I represent to people? What can I
Yes.
deliver that is of value to them?
Yes.
And it requires some personal assessment. So, Althea, I'm looking at the picture behind you. If you're an
Yeah.
artist,
Mm-hmm.
which means you don't draw, but you know how to identify good art.
Yes.
And you can pull art together and make people's rooms come alive and change the feng shui and all that great stuff, right? That is a talent for which there are people who will listen and pay.
That is
And if you
true.
are sufficiently lit up about it, you can speak about that. And as you speak about that, you're delivering value to people. You're teaching them how to choose colors. You're teaching them placement on the wall. You're teaching them combinations. And I just picked some random thing. So the primary requirement to address your question
Mm-hmm.
is you need to be doing something in your life about which you are passionate, something that lights you up. How dare me stand in front of an audience trying to light them up about something about which I am not lit up.
Mm-hmm.
So the key thing is to fall in love with what you do. Here's a quick story. I went fishing this weekend way out in Marco Island off the coast of Florida.
Yeah.
And there was a cook on board. All of us were fishing. There was one guy who was like 5 feet tall. He was the
Mm-hmm.
cook. And he made meals for us every day. And when he handed out a plate to people, he looked them in the eyes and he saw their reaction. He said, enjoy. And if they said thank you, he go, go, great, great, great. And they come back and they say, that was delicious. He said, oh, I'm so great. That's wonderful.
Yes.
And I looked at him and I thought to myself, wait a minute. This man loves what he does.
Love
And
what
you
you
could
do.
feel in the food that it was prepared with care because he was deeply engaged. He told us about what he made, how he made it, and he just sat there and just gleamed as we ate. There's a question I have for your audience, somebody listening to you today, watching this podcast. Have you started the journey in your life to
Mm-hmm.
figure out what lights you up? Have you figured out what it is that ignites your passion and your energy and your drive so that when you do it, you start getting paid before the money comes? Your
Yes.
soul just lifts up and you go, oh my gosh, that was amazing. They actually like my food.
Yes.
Because when you get to that place, all that's necessary now is for somebody to teach you the kind of techniques and tactics of how to deliver it. but it begins with you being the value that you deliver to others.
Yeah, awesome. You know what is so very good about this discussion that we're having? Like every time I plan to ask you a question, you actually answer the question before I ask the question. Right? Or you lead me into it because
Mm.
I was going to ask you what would you say to somebody who has not yet started their journey but wanted to start, you know? What would be that last thing you shared about finding their unique thing or their unique contribution that they want to make? But would there be anything else that you would say to them to help them to start their journey in public speaking?
Right. So I assume that them,
Yeah,
have an interest in public speaking. So that begins. That's good. And I assume that they're looking to a future that's not here yet, by definition.
right.
Newton is one of our favorite scientists we refer to all the time. His law of motion, first law of motion, is a law of motion that says when a body is in motion, it tends to continue in motion until
Stays in
acted upon by
motion.
an outside force.
Yes.
And there's also called the law of inertia because when a body is still, it stays still until acted upon by an outside force. That's a law of science.
Hmm.
And so if you're listening to us today and you're going in a certain trajectory, you're going to keep going there until something booms you or busts you out of that trajectory. If you're still today and you're planning and hoping and dreaming of getting to this state that you dream of,
Hmm.
you're going to stay still and not do it until something hits you. Now, life can hit you, circumstance can hit you, you can blow up, or you can take control of it by getting a coach,
Hmm.
somebody who knows what it takes to get to that place where you want. And I'm saying, yeah, we have willpower, but our willpower has been conditioned by our past, and our past is what produces our present. So
Yes.
the single greatest thing I can say to people is get a coach. Why do I have a coach? Because I don't know how to do public speaking. I've been doing it for decades, and it's the most amazing thing. But I need somebody to have another eye looking at me and teaching me some other things. Now, here's the interesting thing, why people don't get coaches sometimes. I'm the best at what I do, and sometimes they're right. But think about this. And I go back to my only sports figure that I really laud. Well, not the only one. I mean, Usain Bolt as well. But Michael Jordan, in my world, is the best that every person who's ever played for basketball. The best there is, still is. And he had a coach, but his coach could not play basketball as well as Michael could. Isn't that ironic?
It
How
is.
a coach who can't do what you do as well? And the reason is because the art of basketball is different from the art of coaching. One is execution and delivery. The other one is strategy and big picture and triangulation and seeing where one needs to go and setting the formation. So I'm saying to people, if you really want it and you're not getting it, you need to talk to somebody who knows the process of getting it. Not somebody necessarily better at you at the technical skill, because the technical skill is not all that's required. It's the whole strategy and the approach and the technique. And when you have both of those things together, yeah, momentum begins.
Yeah, excellent. So wow, we've been having such a good conversation and we're coming to our close and I re I enjoy this conversation so far, right? And as we're getting to the close, I'd like to know if there's just one last thing. There's one last quote. There's one last tip. There's one last message that we need to hear from Mr. Day before
Uh,
we leave. What would that be?
right. I say that, and this is where I usually start, I often start a presentation. Do you want to earn more? And by earn, I don't mean money. I mean affection, relationship, companionship, recognition, reward, money.
Yeah.
You want to earn more.
Hmm.
You cannot do that sustainably unless you first achieve more, because we live in a meritocracy of some sort. You get paid based upon your deliverable. And so you have to deliver more, you have to achieve more, you have to contribute more to the system from which you want those goodies. But you cannot achieve more sustainably. So on the one hand, you cannot earn more unless you achieve more, but you also cannot achieve more unless you become more. Because your value is your inherent intrinsic value is not in what you do, it's in who you are. Sooner or later, if you have a professional job, who you are comes out in that job. You may be really good and pass the interview, but now you have to get down to that project, and your belief system and your thinking and your worldview are what manifest into that project to make it successful. So here's the thought that I would leave with you. You want to earn more of something that's good? You need to achieve more. You cannot do it unless you become more. So, in order for you to get this fulfillment, this sense of purpose and passion in your life, you have to wake up every day with this commitment. I have to transform. I have to grow. I have to learn something about me. I have to become better. This analogy that I learned when I was traveling the world with, what is it, 2.5 million frequent flyer points on Delta Airlines alone. Okay. 2.5 million. And in there, I learned something that I never heard before with all my traveling. Before you help the other person, if this aircraft is in trouble, before you help the other person put on his or her mask, you must put your own mask on first.
Yes.
So if you have the intention to make the world a better place, to help your family, to heal the sick, to feed the hungry, you have to take care of those things for you first. And,
Yes.
and it lights me up because that's what we do. It's not just about public speaking. It's how can you get to that place where you are becoming more like this caterpillar that becomes a butterfly, takes on wings and learns to fly. I'm so lit up about it that you got to stop me.
I could feel it. I could feel it. I could feel it. And wow, you notice how I was zoned in because I'm listening to everything, I am enjoying this conversation so badly. Can you tell us where to find you, Mr. Dave? If we want to contact you, can you tell us where to find you?
Yes, if you want to contact me, first of all, my website is www.alvinday.com.
Mhm.
And that is literally my name, www.alvinday.com. And you'll find all the background and stuff that's necessary and see what I've been doing with corporate. But if you have an interest in the work that we're doing to work with folks on public speaking as a way of life change and income change, then you just need to send me a note that says influence, influence.
Great.
And so now let me give you my email. First of all, you can put it in the chat here, but you can send it to
Yes.
my email, alvin@alvinday.com. So let me put it here.
Yes, and I'll
ALVI,
add it to the show notes as well.
right. ALVIN@alvinday.com and just put influence. And when you do that and send your email with it, I will send you through email information that you can use to figure out what we do and how we work on public speaking and how we develop the power of the human being. So that's it. Just send influence, influence, influence. Remember, your business is focus fulfillment. That demands influence, doesn't it, Althea?
Oh, great. Yes, thank you. Oh, absolutely. So, as I said, it was a very interesting conversation, very insightful for me with you,
Mm,
Mr. Day. And your message was reminding us that our voice isn't just something to use, it is
mhm.
something to own. We have to own our power of our voice. And when we master our message, the method, the medium, we can position ourselves for true impact and income.
Right.
And I trust that the message that you shared with us today, if it, it will impact my audience, it will have ripple effects for many persons. And I am also encouraging persons to share the message because I think it was such a powerful one. So, thank you very much again for being my guest on the Focused and Fulfilled podcast. Guest audience today, or guest was Mr. Alvin Day, author of Persuasion Power and If Caterpillars Can Fly, So Can I. And so we can contact him. The information will be on the show notes. So until then, stay focused and stay fulfilled. Thank you
Wow.
very much. We'll be back again with another episode. And thank you, Mr. Day.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.